What if I told you a teenager cashed millions of dollars in fake checks, flew planes for Pan Am without a license, and even worked as a doctor, all before he was 21? This isn't a movie plot. This actually happened, and he's just one of the masterminds we're talking about today. These people didn't just tell a little white lie. They built entire lives on deception, fooling experts, fooling governments, fooling even their closest friends. They are the greatest imposters in history, and their stories are absolutely insane. We're going to break down the 3 most unbelievable hoaxes that fooled literally everyone. I'm talking about a guy who sold the Eiffel Tower, not once, but twice, and another who performed life-or-death surgery on a warship with 0 medical training. How did they pull it off, and what happened when the world finally caught on? I've dug through archives, FBI files, and old reports to bring you the craziest details. This is the top 3 hoaxes that fooled everyone. Imagine being 16 years old. What were you doing? Most of us were probably worrying about exams, weekend plans, or a first crush. It's a time of awkward growth and finding your place in the world. But at 16, following his parents' devastating divorce, Frank Abagnale Jr. chose a different path. He ran away from home with just a few dollars in his pocket and launched one of the most legendary crime sprees in modern history. Frank possessed a rare and twisted genius-level talent for confidence and forgery. He understood that in the 1960s, appearance was everything. It all began with checks. He quickly realized how easy it was to manipulate the analog banking system of the era. He overdrew his own account as practice, then started printing flawless counterfeits. He learned every detail: magnetic ink, perforated edges, and routing numbers, becoming a one-man mint. But cashing checks as a teenager was risky. He looked too young to be taken seriously. He needed a disguise that projected authority. So he decided to become an airline pilot. He never went to flight school. Instead, he faked a pilot's license and an employee ID, then sweet-talked his way into a real Pan Am uniform. The uniform was his key to the kingdom. He became Captain Frank Williams, a dashing pilot living the high life. As a pilot, he could deadhead, fly for free, logging over 1 million miles across 26 countries. Pan Am picked up his hotels and meals, all while he cashed fraudulent checks in every city he visited. He never touched the controls. If invited to fly, he claimed he'd had a drink, then let autopilot do the rest. The simple lie worked every time. After nearly 2 years, with authorities flagging his checks, he vanished to a small Georgia town and became a doctor. A pediatrician, to be exact. He forged a Harvard Medical School diploma and landed a supervising resident job as Dr. Frank Connors. He let the interns handle the actual medicine while he simply acted the part. Nearly a year went by without incident. Then, a close call almost let a baby die. He didn't know what a blue baby meant. Terrified by the near-fatal consequences of his ignorance, he fled medicine immediately. Undeterred, he moved to Louisiana and set his sights on law. He forged a Harvard law transcript, studied for 2 months, and passed the bar on his 3rd try. He joined the Attorney General's office, where 8 months of research and coffee runs counted as practicing law. It was his safest con yet, but it wouldn't last. By the time he turned 21, he'd cashed over $2.5 million in fraudulent checks, the equivalent of about $18 million today. The international chase finally ended in France. An Air France flight attendant, who had once dated him, recognized his face on a wanted poster. He was arrested and sentenced to 12 years. If Frank Abagnale Jr. was a master of forgery, then Ferdinand Waldo Demara was a virtuoso of pure, unadulterated audacity. He was a different breed of con man entirely. He didn't need to craft perfect documents or intricate backstories. His tools were an unshakable confidence, a photographic memory, and an uncanny ability to read people and situations. He didn't just mimic professions, he absorbed them, fooling seasoned experts in their own fields. It was this incredible talent that led Life magazine to dub him the Great Imposter. His journey began at 16, when he ran away from a difficult home life to join a Trappist monastery. He loved the quiet contemplation, but chafed under the strict rules and vows of obedience. This established the pattern of his life: find a place that offered structure and respect, hit a wall of rules or boredom, and then simply assume a new identity to start over. He cycled through an astonishing list of careers: civil engineer, sheriff's deputy, cancer researcher, law student, zoology graduate, professor, and even a reform-minded prison warden. His method was simple but brilliant. He'd borrow the identity of a real qualified person, apply for jobs with their credentials, then cram textbooks overnight to survive day one on the job. As Dr. Robert Linton French, he even founded a small college in Maine. The entire faculty and administration consisted of just him. Unsurprisingly, it soon folded from a lack of funding. But his most audacious and terrifying role came during the Korean War. He stole the identity of a Canadian surgeon, Dr. Joseph Sear, got himself commissioned as a trauma surgeon in the Royal Canadian Navy, and was assigned to the destroyer HMCS Cayuga. On the front lines, he was the only medical officer aboard. Then, disaster struck. The ship was shelled, and 16 critically wounded soldiers were brought to him, all needing immediate surgery. With no real training, Damara locked himself in his cabin with surgical textbooks, frantically memorizing procedures for major chest wounds and amputations. He emerged preternaturally calm and got to work, performing surgery after surgery for hours on end, powered by sheer nerve and freshly absorbed book knowledge. He successfully extracted a bullet lodged just inches from a soldier's heart. He cleanly amputated another's mangled leg. Miraculously, every single one of his patients survived. The story of the heroic ship's doctor spread, and he was hailed as a miracle worker. But it was this very publicity that would ultimately ruin him. The real Dr. Sear's mother saw the story in a newspaper. The hoax unraveled instantly. When confronted, Damara admitted everything. The Navy, facing immense embarrassment, but also grateful for the lives he'd saved, chose to quietly discharge him without pressing charges. Undeterred, he kept reinventing himself. As a Texas prison warden, he was even lauded as a progressive reformer, until an inmate recognized his face from the old Life magazine article. Unlike a Bagnell, he rarely profited from his cons. For Damara, it was about the challenge, the intellectual stimulation, and above all, the respect and sense of belonging he craved. He always claimed his primary motivation was to help people. After his fame made further cons impossible, he found a quiet, legitimate role as a hospital chaplain, expressing little remorse for his past. It remains a mind-bending case of identity and expertise. How did a completely untrained man pull off successful life-or-death surgeries with nothing but a textbook and a steady hand? Damara's life proves that with enough confidence and a brilliant memory, the line between reality and deception can blur completely. He was, and remains, the great imposter. Our final con man, Victor Lustig, didn't just fake a job. He meticulously crafted and sold an entirely false reality. He was a master of human psychology, fluent in multiple languages, and possessed an almost supernatural charm. He carried himself like a deposed aristocrat, with a wardrobe to match, and his forged stationery was so perfect it could fool government experts. In 1925, a Parisian newspaper article lamented that the Eiffel Tower, originally a temporary structure, was now a costly burden in constant need of repair. A problem for the city of Paris, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Victor Lustig. Posing as a deputy director general of the Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs, he sent confidential invites to the city's top 5 scrap metal dealers, staging a secret meeting in a lavish hotel. He explained the government had decided to dismantle the 7,000-ton structure and was selling it for scrap. He even led a private tour, flashing a fake government pass. The dealers were stunned, yet intrigued. Lustig studied their faces, seeking the most eager and insecure. He found his man in André Poisson, a provincial newcomer desperate to join the Parisian business elite. When Poisson hesitated, Lustig played his masterstroke. He confessed that his government salary was low, hinting at a bribe. This cynical request made the scam feel more official. Poisson paid for the scrap rights and the bribe. Lustig and his accomplice, Dapper Dan Collins, immediately fled to Vienna with a suitcase full of cash. They waited for the scandal to break. Nothing. Poisson was too humiliated to report the crime. So, a month later, Lustig returned to Paris and tried the exact same play again. This time, his chosen mark grew suspicious and went to the police. Lustig slipped away just in time, fleeing to the U.S. In America, he peddled one of his favorite scams, the Romanian money box, a device he claimed could duplicate currency. He'd prove it with a staged reveal, preloading genuine bills and using a 6-hour chemical processing time as misdirection. He sold these useless boxes for tens of thousands of dollars to greedy, gullible marks. He even ran a Metacon on Al Capone, convincing the gangster to invest $50,000 in a stock scheme. Lustig simply parked the money, then returned it 2 months later, claiming the deal fell through. Capone, impressed by this apparent honesty, rewarded him with $5,000. That was Lustig's real target all along. But his downfall came from a classic vulnerability, a jealous girlfriend who tipped off the feds about his large-scale counterfeiting operation. Arrested and sent to Alcatraz in 1935, he died there from pneumonia a decade later. Count Victor Lustig, the man who sold a national landmark not once, but twice, ended his days on the rock. He understood that greed and insecurity are a powerful combination. The best lies are always the ones people desperately want to believe. For Lustig, the ultimate theft wasn't money, it was trust itself. So there you have it. A teenager who faked his way into being a pilot, a man with no training who became a war hero surgeon, and a count who sold the Eiffel Tower. Twice. These stories are insane, but they share one secret. Confidence. Abignal, Damara, Lustig. They didn't just lie. They sold a reality people wanted. Their hoaxes exploited the biggest security flaw, human nature, our trust, our greed, our fear of looking foolish. If you enjoyed diving into these minds, hit subscribe. We've got more wild stories coming. Comment, who was the most brilliant? Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.